Dirtle Magic. Thank you for tuning in to Dirtle Magic. Please subscribe and hit that notification bell if you like the content you see here today, and leave a like and share the video with someone you might think is interested. Leaving those likes really helps us out, but another way to help us out is by using our TCG Player affiliate link below. If you're looking for singles, sealed product, or gaming accessories, please consider using our link to support the channel. We also have some playmats at inkgaming.com. Go ahead and hit the link in the description to check those out. Alright, let's grab some spells and dirtle with some magic. Hello and welcome to Dirtle Magic, and today we have the Feldon of the Third Path deck tech. Let's take a look at the commander and then cover what sections we'll be doing today. Feldon of the Third Path is a 1 red 2/3 legendary creature human artificer with the ability 2 red tap, create a token that's a copy of target creature card in your graveyard, except as an artifact in addition to its other types. It gains haste, sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. So what we want to do with this deck is get big things into the graveyard with big effects and bring them back with Feldon as sad robots. For our deck tech today, we have the sections Wheels and Deals, Scraps, Big Burn, and Double Down. Let's waste no time, let's wheel and let's deal. Some cards that help us get cards from our hand to our graveyard are Jalum Tome and Faithless Looting. Jalum Tome says 2 tap, draw a card, discard a card. Faithless Looting is red, a sorcery, draw 2 cards, discard 2 cards, and has flashback for 2 and red. Next, of course, we have the Pope of Scrap, Duretti Scrap Savant. Its plus ability is discard up to 2 cards and then draw that many cards. It can also help us sacrifice artifacts and trade them with something already in the graveyard, and its emblem is very good by just bringing all of our stuff back if we want to get rid of it from the battlefield. Then we have a card like Trading Post, which says discard a card you gain for life and it can be any card. We can also sacrifice an artifact to draw a card, sacrifice a creature to get an artifact back from our graveyard to our hand, and pay 1 life to make a goat because sometimes we just need an extra blocker. Another quick way to get creatures from our hand to our graveyard is using Pulverous Bronze Blooded. 2 in red, they come into play straight away, they gain haste till end of turn so we can attack, trigger our ETBs, our LTBs, goes to the graveyard for Abuse with Feldon. We had Deals, Let's Wheel, Mages of the Wheel, 2 red for a 3/3, 1 in red, tap, sacrifice it, each player discards their hand, draw 7 cards. Incendiary Command won't draw 7 cards, it only replaces the cards in our hand, but has enough flexibility that I recommend it as an include to get rid of a problematic land, mini board wipe, and can dome somebody for 4. Trondra Flamecaller, the 0 ability, discard all cards in our hand, draw that many, plus 1 is good. Elemental's good for pressuring our opponent, and has a board wipe on it, essentially as an ultimate. Combustible Gearhulk comes into play, opponent gets to choose what we do. Either we mill 3 and they take damage equal to all of the CMCs, or converted mana values, or mana value, or we draw 3 cards. Either way, it's fueling that strategy. And since we can deal a lot of big damage in this deck eventually, Nullspine Dragon's here to enter the battlefield, dump our hand, and draw all those glorious cards for all the damage we did. Next up, we have Scraps. Let's put some stuff into the graveyard from play so we can recur it with Feldon. Gotta get stuff from everywhere. First up, we have 2 lands, High Market and Phyrexian's Core. 1 sacrifices creatures, 1 you pay 1, sacrifice an artifact, and you gain 1 life. They both gain you life, they both sacrifice what we need to, so they're in the deck. Pa and Kieran Nalar come into play with some fodder of their own with 2 Thopters. The flying blockers can be very useful, but then we can play 2 in red, sacrifice an artifact, and it deals 2 damage to any target. Goblin Welder and Goblin Engineer both come into play. 1 can trade artifacts from their battlefield in our graveyard back and forth. Happens at the same time, by the way. The Goblin Engineer can tutor us an artifact in our graveyard, but it can only basically trade something that has CMC 3 or less to get back out of the graveyard. However, we can use it to sacrifice any artifact that we want. Now when Feldon makes tokens, they are all artifacts, so we can manipulate that to our advantage. Then there's a pet card of mine, Indomitable Creativity, X red for a sorcery, destroy X target artifacts and or creatures. For each permanent destroyed this way, its controller reveals cards from the top of his or her library until an artifact or creature card is revealed and exiles that card. Those players put the exiled cards onto the battlefield and then shuffle their libraries. This could potentially polymorph our whole board, but it works even better with the following cards: Junk Diver, Mirror Retriever, and Scrap Trawler. If we use Indomitable Creativity on these cards, not only do they die and bring a bunch of stuff back that we want to maybe recast, including possibly most of themselves, we also get to essentially polymorph into something even larger because they count as both artifacts and creatures. Next up we have Big Burn. If Feldon can bring back our big guys with big effects, we can do big damage with big power. To start us off, we have the ETB of Inferno Titan. Comes into play, lightning bolts something, or when it attacks it does that, and you can split it up amongst a number of targets up to 3. Spawn of Thraxes comes down, deals damage to any target equal to the amount of mountains you control, and we are playing a lot of mountains, we're in mono red. Bagarden Hellkite has Flash, and splits its damage, 5, amongst a number of targets. It's also a beefy flyer, so not too bad there. Then we have Terror of Peaks, which is essentially a Warstorm Surge on a creature, which is very good because we can get it back with Feldon, and whenever another creature comes into play, it deals damage equal to their power to another target. Next up, we have some Leave the Battlefield abilities because Feldon's tokens do sacrifice at the end of turn. Vicious Shadows and Stalking Vengeance cover us there. Vicious Shadows says, whenever a creature is put into a graveyard from play, you may have this card deal damage to target player equal to the number of cards in that player's hand. So if somebody wants to make some tokens and we want to wipe the board, that could mean death for someone right there. Stalking Vengeance has haste, it's a 5/5, and it says whenever another creature you control dies, it deals damage equal to its power to target player. So Feldon has something come into play that's a token. It attacks, possibly does more damage, possibly dies, and Stalking Vengeance helps us take revenge by dealing even more damage. And now at long last to double down because more damage is always good and it helps you win the game. To start us down the path of double detonations of extra damage, we have Illusionist Bracers. Whenever the equipped creature has an activated ability be activated, you get a copy of it for free. Rings of Brighthearth, whenever an activated ability is activated, if it doesn't produce mana, you may pay 2. If you do, you get a copy of it. Double effects. Strong Resonator, 2 tap, copy target triggered ability you control. Great for ETBs and LTBs. Magerite Stone says 1 tap, untap target creature with tap as a cost in one of its abilities. And Panharmonicon says, if an artifact or creature entering the battlefield would cause something of yours to trigger, it triggers an additional time, and we play with a lot of creatures and artifacts. Alright, that does it for this deck tech featuring Feldon of the Third Path. You can let me know what you think of the deck in the comments below, and if you want the full deck list, please go into the description below. There is a link for you there. I did want to mention that since I've done this series, that have been a multitude of excellent cards that you could add to this deck. If you want to check out the spoilers for the Strixhaven Commander decks and Strixhaven, go ahead and check the links in my Twitter and Facebook. Command Zone spoiled the Lorehold Legacies, which had a lot of juice for this deck, and then there's another spoiling coming out from Commander Versus. MTG Mutz is going to be doing one. It's going to be an awesome time, and the decks are going to get super powerful, super souped up. White's getting a bunch of stuff. But in either case, if you want to build this deck, definitely check that out. In either case, I'll see you for the next series on the channel. Until then, stay safe out there and indulge yourself in some spoilers.